It was the Sabbath day. We had nearly reached the synagogue, and as usual, Bart and Tomo and I were following a little way behind Jesus and the other disciples.
I hope it's not boring, Bart sighed. I hate it when the synagogue services are boring.
Jesus is giving the talk, said Tomo. It'll be great.
Oh, I mean the other bits, Bart sighed again. The singy, prayy, ready bits.
No need to worry there either, my large friend, I assured him. At least as far as the singing goes, this is one of those modern, fancy, newfangled synagogues.
What do you mean?
Grunted Tomo. Well, for a start, I explained, there's more than one instrument. Not just a harp, not just a lyre, not just a cymbal, but a whole band.
Oh, very Psalm 150,
Bart grinned. Exactly, I replied. Trumpets, tambourines, they've got the lot. And dancers, too. What's more, you don't even have to know the words to the psalms.
What?
Tomo grunted again. No, they hang these huge scrolls at the front between two ladders. And there are helpers who climb the ladders and turn the scrolls when the psalms change.
That must be tricky,
said Tomo. They fall behind every now and then, I agreed. But who can blame them? It works most of the time.
Oh, I hope they have a scroll for my favorite synagogue song, said Bart.
I did not know you had a favorite synagogue song, I replied.
Oh, yes, Bart nodded vigorously. It has been my favorite since I was a little boy, Bart. It is based on Psalm number 42.
Tomo scratched his head.
Not familiar with that one, big fella.
That's why you need a hanging from the front giant scroll, I chuckled. Then Bart chuckled too and said,
As the deer pants. That's my favorite song.
And why would that be exactly? Tomo inquired.
Deer pants. It's obvious, isn't it? Bart chuckled again. And it's hilarious. Do they wear boxers? Do they wear briefs? Is there some sort of special springy deer underwear? I do not know, but I find the whole idea strangely compelling.
Tomo muttered, and some of us just find you strange.
I cleared my throat. Actually, I interrupted. The song isn't about that. You need to read the rest of the line. As the deer pants for the water.
I see, Bart slowly nodded. Deer pants for the water. It's about swimming trunks, then. I stand corrected.
And I just sighed. No, it's not nothing to do with what deer wear on their bottoms. Deer don't wear anything on their bottoms. It's not about those kind of pants at all. It's about what you do when you're thirsty. And then I made a little doggy, deery panting sound to show him what I meant. Bart nodded again.
It's all becoming clear to me now, he said. It's not a deer. It's a donkey.
What?
Went Tomo. A donkey, Bart repeated, like the one over there, panting.
Tomo and I turned around, and sure enough, there was a donkey tied up to a post, and yes, it was panting away, desperate for a drink.
As the donkey pants for the water, Bart sang slowly.
But before he could finish his song, a man in some very fine robes appeared.
Oh, I'm terribly sorry, Turnip, the man said to the donkey. I was so busy preparing for the service that I forgot all about you. You must be parched.
Then he untied the donkey and led her to a trough nearby.
That's a good girl, he muttered,
patting her on the back.
Drink as much as you like. Oh, said Bart, rubbing a little tear from his eye. He really loves that donkey, doesn't he? He needs to buy her a nice pair of pants.
Tomo looked at me as if to say, it's not worth it. And then Jesus called, You boys ready? It's about time for the synagogue service to start. So in we went. And wouldn't you know it, the very first song to appear on the giant hanging scrolls at the front was,
As the deer pants,
shouted Bart. And then he turned to me with a worried look on his face.
Do you think we should tell them, Bip? He asked. Tell them that it should be a donkey instead of a deer.
We'll tell them afterwards, I whispered. Just sing. So Bart did, and so did I, sang with all our hearts. And then Tomo turned to me too.
How long are we going to sing this thing? He grunted. We've done it like 37 times.
The words are meant to soak in, I whispered back.
Well, I'm drowning, Tomo moaned. And what's with the guy on the tambourine? Do they let just anybody play those things?
It's not the art, it's what's in your heart, I replied. It's about getting close to God. And then Bart raised a finger in the air.
As the donkey pants for the water, so my soul longs after you.
Yes, exactly, I nodded. Well, sort of. And then mercifully the song finished, and Jesus walked to the front and sat down to teach. "I have a story for you," he began. "My dad was a carpenter. I loved it when Jesus told stories, and I was looking forward to hearing what he had to say." Bart, however, was still singing quietly to himself. "Shh!" I shushed him.
"But it has a ring to it, don't you think?"
he whispered back.
"As the donkey pants for the water."
Fortunately, I don't think Jesus could hear him. "I learned a lot from my dad," Jesus went on. "Sawing, hammering, piecing together. But the thing I loved most was the polishing. And he would be right there at my side, encouraging me. 'Rub away,' he would say. 'Make it shine, Jesus, shine.'" And Bart just grinned.
"Shine, Jesus, shine," he chuckled. "That has a ring to it, too."
And then Jesus stopped talking. Not because of anything Bart said, but because he had seen something. Someone, rather. A woman in the crowd who could not stand up straight. "Come over here," he called to her. And she went, back bent, eyes facing the floor. "For 18 years, she explained, some evil spirit has bound me and made me like this." "Well, you're free now," said Jesus. And when he laid his hand on her back, she stood up straight, tears running down her face. "Praise God!" she shouted. "Praise God, I'm healed."
"I think that's our cue to sing again,"
Bart beamed.
"I think you should just shut up and enjoy the moment,"
whispered Tomo, annoyed. Turns out he wasn't the only one. The man in charge of the synagogue looked pretty annoyed as well. He stood and faced the crowd and said,
"There are 6 whole days in every week when we can do work, like making people well. If you want to be healed, come on one of those days, not on the Sabbath, when we are meant to rest from work."
The woman who had been healed looked confused. She looked like she thought she had done something wrong. She looked like she was going to cry. And that's when Bart stood up.
"If he starts singing that song again," Tomo muttered, "I'm going to take one of those tambourines."
But Bart didn't start singing. No. He pointed his finger in the direction of the man in charge of the synagogue and shouted,
"Now, hang on just a minute, Mr. Donkey Pants."
And every face in the synagogue turned Bart's way. Whether it was because he had spoken out or because he had addressed the ruler of the synagogue by a name no one had ever heard before or was likely to hear again, I do not know. But he definitely had everyone's attention.
"My friends and me were outside of the synagogue," Bart began, "waiting for the service to start. Your donkey was panting, wasn't she? She was thirsty, so you untied her and led her to a water trough to have a drink. I thought you were a very nice man to do that, Mr. Donkey Pants, but I'm not so sure now."
Because that was a kind of work, wasn't it? Jesus interrupted, looking at the ruler of the synagogue. "The kind of work our law allows. Work you did because you care for your donkey. So if it's all right for you to do that kind of work, to free your donkey and lead it to water, what is wrong with the work I did to free this woman from the bonds of the devil that bent her back and bound her all these years?" The ruler of the synagogue had no answer for that. He knew that Jesus was right, and he looked at his feet, ashamed. And everyone else in the synagogue, they raised their voices, praising God for the amazing thing that had happened to the woman. And Bart raised his voice too.
"Here it comes,"
Tomo sighed.
"Another 37 verses."
And so it did. In a toe-tapping, tambourine-shaking, giant scroll from the front hanging Big Bart's song of praise.
"As the donkey pants for the water, so my soul longs after you."